and welcome to Module 5 of Business Communications. In this module, we're going to be going over preparing written messages. So the learning outcomes in this lecture will be to apply techniques for developing effective sentences and unified and coherent paragraphs, prepare visually appealing documents that grab the audience's attention and increases comprehension, identify factors affecting readability and revise messages to improve readability, revise and proofread a message for content, organization, style and tone, and mechanics, format, and layout. So sentence structure, active versus passive. We kind of went over this in the last lecture. So with business writing, we want to strive for the active voice. And again, the active voice as the subject of a sentence is the doer of the action. An example would be John read the report. A passive voice would be subject of a sentence is the receiver of an action. The report was read by John. So some of the requirements of developing coherent paragraphs: the position the topic sentence appropriately. So your topic sentence should identify the portion of the topic being discussed, presents the central idea of the paragraph. The deductive paragraph is the topic sentence precedes the details. Get to the point. An example would be a good news message. So remember this, good news message. Inductive paragraph, topic sentence follows the details. Build up to the point. So an example of this would be the bad news message and sales messages. So which one reads better and why? Here is a great activity for you to do on your own. You don't have to turn this in. It's just a great exercise for you to kind of work on. So click on this Google link and kind of read the following document on which one reads better and think to yourself, why does it read better? So some tools to keep your messages tidy are bulleted lists, headlines, tables and graphics, lines and borders, and relevant images. Don't go overboard here, though. Make sure you keep it simple and professional still. Avoid cliches and jargon. So cliches are overused expressions that causes users to be perceived as unoriginal, unimaginative, lazy, disrespectful. An example would be get to the bottom of it. You don't want to write that. Eliminate profanity, slang, and acronyms. An example would be OMG. That's just not professional, right? You do that when you're text messaging your friends. Don't use complicated language or jargon. Industry-specific language often used with colleagues in the same field can be an informal way to subordinate others by using unfamiliar terms. So again, I kind of always look into medical terms. That would be like industry-specific jargon. Techniques to produce on concise messages. Avoid redundancy. Word unnecessarily repeating an idea in an accompanying word. Make sure when you're proofreading your messages that you're not being redundant and saying the same thing over and over again. So an example of this would be, we need to meet next week. Since we need to meet next week, it is important I hear from you ASAP. So 1, ASAP is a big no-no, right? And 2, you're saying the same thing twice. You're being redundant. Avoid restating ideas, shorten sentences, write more like a blogger, less like a lawyer. So maintaining a positive and clear tone. So your tone is what conveys the writer's or speaker's attitude toward the message and the receiver. States ideas using positive language, focuses on what you can do for the customer and not what you can't do. So again, always being positive. Negative, an example of this would be smoking is not allowed in the campus cafeteria. A positive way of saying this is smoking is allowed in the smoking area located in the east parking lot. See the differences there? Choose words carefully. Euphemism, kind of word to substitute for an offending word. So an example would be, instead of saying he is unemployed, a euphemism would say he is between jobs, or he is on a sabbatical. Doublespeak, euphemisms that deliberately mislead, hide, or evade the truth. An example would be the best job in the world is inflated language, an example of doublespeak. Be clear in your messaging. Denotative meaning, literal meaning of a word that most people assign to it. He was late, denotative. He is a free spirit, connotative. Connotative meaning, literal meaning of a word plus an extra message. So an example would be, he's slippery on the details. Think of how word choice impacts the meaning of these words. Thrifty is positive versus savor, neutral, versus stingy, negative. See the differences there? Use bias-free language. Use occupational titles that reflect genuine sensitivity to gender and orientation. Avoid referring to men and women in stereotyped roles and occupations. An example would be, my sister's husband is a male nurse. You don't have to put in the word male. You can say, my sister's husband is a nurse. Designating an occupation by gender. An example would be mailman. Using expressions that may be perceived to be gender biased. LGBTQ, racial, ethnic, age, and disability bias. Always got to be careful of how and what you are saying. Always proofread your work. Text messaging and social media posts are more informal, but business writing is expected to be error-free. Think emails. Use spell check to locate keywords and repeated words. You can put and install a free app onto your computer called Grammarly. Works great, and I'm sure there are other ones out there. Display the document in print preview mode and edit for format and layout. Print a draft copy and proofread again if the document is non-routine and complex. It always helps to see a hard copy, or you can send it to someone else and have them help you proofread it. Remember, sending a message is a record of your attention to detail and professionalism, especially in a cover letter or a resume if you're trying to get a job. So, super short lecture here, but these are important slides, especially as you do your writing assignments, your analytical report, and your quizzes. So, Module 5 assignments are your Check-in 3 bucket list, Discussion 5, and your Quiz 3, which is on written messages.